Who punched Eli in the face? Elon.
Eli. Elon? Sorry.
Elon.
Did you hear who he said punched him in the face?
His child.
His child. You want to hear the fun, totally, this is probably total BS, but the fun, like internet rumor?
Okay, I want to hear it.
Okay. So, you know who Stephen Miller is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Stephen Miller, his wife, and I can't remember her name, but she worked at like the State Department. She's just as awful as Stephen Miller. She's actually pretty cute, but I've seen her Twitter and she's the basket case. Anyhow, when Elon, this is like 3 days ago, we found out that Elon, when he left his role in DOGE, took her with him. So she's now working for Elon. And everybody was like,
Ooh.
whoa, like that's kind of weird. And then somebody connected the dots that it's Elon's right eye and Stephen Miller is left-handed. And
Oh.
so I'm not saying it was Stephen Miller. I'm just
And
saying
and it's a very weak looking bruise too.
so
So
that's
I
what they
don't
were
think
saying.
Stephen Miller could. I think he probably punches like a 3-year-old. So
They said what we know is that it was a left-handed person who hits like a kid. It had to be Stephen Miller. That was the. There were many jokes about this today.
awesome.
With no evidence whatsoever, I choose to believe that because it's funnier than Elon's kid hit him. Either way, I'm glad it got addressed because I was watching him and Trump in the Oval Office today, and the whole time I was just like, What is on his eye?" Like I couldn't figure it out. And then finally, one of the reporters asked what happened, and he made a joke about it. And he made a joke. Did you see what happened in France with the president of France, Emmanuel Macron?
Oh yeah.
Did you see
Yeah,
this?
his wife slapped him through the plane or kind of pushed him with her. Yeah.
She pushed his face. Everybody's saying it's a slap. It wasn't a slap. Now he tried to play it off and say that it was all like they were just playing around.
No.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
When she like pushed his face, it pushed him into frame, like where the doorway of the plane was, and he
Yeah.
immediately turned and realized that people saw that, and like the oh shit look on his face was classic. But I think they were having a bit of a marital moment, and I'll bet money like Trump and Melania, I'll bet they go at it behind closed doors. In fact, the most telling thing today is they asked Trump what he thought of that, and Trump all he said was like next time have the door closed or had said something like that, and like he totally skipped his chance to like pile on there, and he was like, that
Yeah.
stuff happens. So I guarantee you, Michelle and Barack and George and
Oh
Laura
yeah.
Bush, every couple has their disagreements.
Every couple has to do.
So, but it
Yeah.
was, I think it's total BS that he's trying to be like, oh, what you saw there was a moment where we were just playing. No, like
No.
you guys were bitching at each other, and she fucking put
Uh,
her hands on your face. So, anyhow,
yep.
Elon tried to make a joke. He was like, well, I wasn't in France, if that's what you're asking. But then he said little X hit him. He said he told little X to hit him in the face, and then little X did and left that big a bruise. I think X is 5 years old.
Okay.
So I don't know that that checks out unless Elon.
Even a 5-year-old, you don't ask him to punch you in the face. Like,
But also, like, some people bruise easily. So, like, my first thought is like a five
okay.
year old shouldn't be able to give a grown up a black eye. But I know people that bruise more easily than others, and maybe Elon is just that type. He just bruises easily.
And
So,
maybe ketamine, ecstasy,
oh,
and cocaine make you bruise easier.
did you see that story today in the New York Times?
I did, yeah.
So I didn't read the whole story. I saw excerpts, but yeah, like apparently, like we all knew he's admitted to being on ketamine, and he says that his doctor prescribes it to him. Now, people have speculated that he is abusing ketamine. I don't know. Yeah, is ketamine like a horse tranquilizer? What exactly is that? I have no clue what it is. I've never messed with it.
I think it's some sort of I don't say tranquilizer, but it's like what they would give you to kind of put you under,
Okay.
like if they're gonna do like a quick surgery on you or something.
When we were younger, was that what people would call Special K? Am I right on that? I remember there was
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So I remember
Yeah.
we knew people that would have used that. I never did, but I remember there was people were like, "Oh, he's doing Special K," and I wanted no
Yeah.
part of
I've
that.
never done it.
But anyhow,
Uh,
apparently he was doing shrooms, Adderall, ketamine, and I feel like there was one more, but I can't remember it. They asked him
oh,
what.
oh. So a paramedic will give you ketamine if you're like an unruly like if you get in a car accident and you're still like swinging fists and like talking shit to the police or whatever, like the
Kind of
paramedics will
mellow.
give you ketamine. And I think police officers can, and I think there was a police officer that gave somebody too much ketamine at one point and killed him
Oh wow, okay.
recently, or it might have been a paramedic.
So if I go back and pull a video clip, I'll insert it right here. But remember at the inauguration when there were all those close-ups on his face and his eyes were doing weird things and he was rolling his
Yeah.
head and like
Yeah.
clearly that man was on drugs. And even today, people have already clipped when he was standing beside the desk and Trump was honoring
Yep.
him, like he started doing it again. And it's like that. I've seen people that are on some drugs, and that man is on some drugs now. He might be a real high functioning drug guy. Maybe his brain really gets to work on drugs. Who am I? I think we can each say that each of us has dabbled with some magic fun guy and maybe had some really awesome thoughts. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
I mean, it makes sense when you think like this man is obsessed with building a rocket to go to Mars. Oh, and he's microdosing shrooms all the time. That makes sense to me.
Well, even in the article, they were talking about how he's in charge of like 7 or 8 different companies,
Mhm.
like the Boring Company and Twitter, and how many times a day does he tweet?
All day long and all night long.
Okay.
He
He
might
also
be,
has like a full gaming setup at his
yeah.
house.
They
He's
said
got how many kids? 14 kids with like 8 different women or something.
14
Like,
kids with 4 women is what I think it is.
okay. Like, how do you juggle all, and you're a drug addict. How are you juggling that?
Because of the drugs. Without the drugs, you couldn't juggle it. The drugs is what
Not
gives
doing
you
any of it. I don't think
the
he's doing any of it. I think he's just doing the drugs.
apparently he's not trying to be a father to most of his kids. It seems like the one
Okay.
little X is the only one that he has an active role in. The rest he
And
apparently
who's the mother of that one?
that one is Grimes, I think. I could be
Okay.
wrong. I think that's
That makes
Grimes and
sense.
his kid. Yeah. When that there's a conservative influencer lady named like Ashley St. Clair, and she's the one that threw a big hissy fit about him recently and started tweeting
Hmm.
at him. But she revealed what the deal is. Like apparently, like Elon will flat out be like, "Can I impregnate you if you let me?" Like he deposits like a couple mil in their account right away, and then there's a
Yep.
monthly allowance of several $100,000, and like a Tesla is randomly part of it. He'll give you a Tesla.
Of course. Of course.
So yeah, it's straight up a business deal, and we need to go into this on a separate occasion. But he is truly convinced about this whole depopulation. What is it? The birth rate is declining and civilization collapse. Like he's all
Yeah.
about that.
And he
And
thinks that he's smart enough that he should be populating he should
he
be
thinks
repopulating.
he apparently thinks that like the super geniuses are the ones who should be like spreading their seed to like have smarter.
Not that guy.
Yeah, it's honestly, I'll say this. I don't disagree with that because, like, his theory kind of is in line with the movie Idiocracy. Like, the dumb people are outbreeding the smart people. So the super geniuses need to start just impregnating everybody to counter that. So,
Not the evil ones though. He's evil.
yeah, what's funny is like 3 or 4 years ago when everybody loved Elon, I know I made the point to a couple different people. You might have been one of them, but I was like, if you just looked at like any movie where there's like an evil villain, like Elon checks all the boxes, but he's cool right now. Like we all like him. And then like within a 6 month period, he switched to another side and half the country hates him. And anyhow, he's definitely
It all started with smoking weed on Rogan.
that's so Rogan is the reason that Elon went the direction he went for sure. Like
Yeah.
Elon was kind of doing his thing, and then Rogan had him on and tried to convince everybody how cool he was and gave him weed. And from that day on, Elon has slowly gone a different path. Not saying it's a wrong path or a right path. I'm just saying he clearly took a left turn at that point, and I guess it
Are
was a
you
right.
sure you don't want to take sides on that one?
It was a right
I
turn.
mean,
Yeah, I can't stand what Elon's doing these days.
okay. All right,
So
good. There you go. Wrong
anyhow,
path.
yeah.
Wrong
So
path. How
anyhow,
many? I mean, he like got rid of money for the VA. So how many VA employees are
so
fired?
but
And he got money for cancer research for children and cancer research or research for AIDS or funding for AIDS in Africa. I mean, there's like a hundred different things that he did that's like bad for the population.
so there's a I guess he got interviewed for the CBS Sunday morning show that's going to come out this weekend, but excerpts are starting to come out. I actually have one we're going to play here in a little bit. But in all of the excerpts, he's trying to distance himself from all the cuts. He was saying he's like, every cut that happened, people just assumed was Doge, and most of it wasn't us. Like, and he even said like there are things that I don't agree with and I don't want to defend, but if I say that, then that'll give everybody ammunition to say, oh, Elon is turning on Trump, which is true. That's the truest thing he said. Because if he was saying something like that, people would exploit the heck out of it. But he's very much trying to distance himself from a lot of these cuts. He's saying everybody was saying it was all Doge and it wasn't. So I'm just Who knows?
Well, my theory is Doge was a cover-up. He wanted access to all that stuff. He downloaded all the information he wanted. He got all that stuff. But in the meantime, the thing that he really, really wanted was to get rid of the organizations that were suing his companies.
Regulating and suing. And like
Regulating and suing, yes.
he announced the other day that like the Starship launches, there's about to be like 3 in the next 4 weeks. And like that wouldn't have been allowed before. Like before every launch, there was like environmental impact studies and like things he had to do between launches. And he got rid of the people that were regulating that, and now he can just launch at will. So yeah, I think there were several goals for him. That was the main goal, was to get rid of the people regulating him. Apparently, they just announced, the White House announced that Peter Thiel's company, which it starts with a P. I can't remember what the word. It's a word that's a little awkward. But anyhow, they're
Who's Peter Thiel?
Peter Thiel is one of the billionaires that went on Rogan right before the election. He's South African
Oh, yeah, yeah,
also.
yeah.
He's the guy that has like really wet skin all the time. I don't know how else to
Yeah.
describe it, but he looks
They all were
greasy.
doing that for a while. Even
Yeah,
Zuckerberg. Yeah.
exactly.
I
But
keep asking like these makeup artists like what is going on with these people, and nobody really knew.
dude, so I'm gonna say a close person that I know used to play in the NFL, and for like the first 4 or 5 years he played in the league. Like when he got there, somebody told him like, "Hey, here's the trick: put baby oil all over your arms and stuff, and it makes you look stronger." And he did. He stopped at one point, I think 4 or 5 years in. But now when I see all the highlights, and it's like, oh, his arms are all fucking oiled up. Like I don't know why it makes me laugh, but I think that's what a lot of these billionaires, they all got like into being in shape and jujitsu, and they started oiling
Okay.
themselves up all the time. So
Well, and there's also that like fashion trend where like looking moist is, yeah, shiny. I don't know what
yeah,
it is. It's really weird. As a photographer, it's annoying because you get in front of the camera, you start
yeah.
throwing lights on them. They're like very shiny.
In the movie Zoolander, the commercial, it's like hydration is the essence of beauty, and water
Yeah.
is the essence of hydration. Like I think that's where we're at. So, uh,
Merman.
exactly. I haven't seen that in a while. I need to go back and watch it. So, anyhow, enough on Elon for right now. We got to do we start every episode with a little trade war update. So we got to update.
Okay.
I've got my deal tracker in front of me. I've been keeping track of every deal we got. Um,
All the deals. All the deals.
so the good news is
How
we're
many pages are there?
we're still at zero. We have zero deals, 90 deals in 90 days. April 9th. So let me see here. We're only a month and 3 weeks in. So we still got a month and a week, roughly, rough
Okay.
math, to get the 90 deals. Real quick side story. I'm hanging out with a good buddy of mine this weekend. We had a soccer tournament in Kansas City, and me and him made a little run to go run some errands. And like as soon as he got in the car, he was like, he's great, great dude. I don't want to seem like I'm talking smack here, but he was like real excited. He's like, so like, what do you think of like all the trade deals? And I was just like, what are we talking about here? And he was like, well, the trade deals. We got one with UK, we got China taken care of, like all these. And I had to like break it down. I was like, we don't have any trade deals. Like Trump caved on China. We went from 145 to 30, and they agreed to do nothing. Um, the UK deal was an outline of a deal. The very last sentence in the UK trade deal is both countries recognize that this is not a binding deal, or something along those lines. Like so, and then after the UK one, he came back and touted it, and then apparently the American auto manufacturers threw a fit about it. They did not like, because apparently because of that, if they would have gone through with that trade deal, there would have been less tariffs on a car made exclusively in the UK than a car made in America, but with Canadian and Mexican parts. So it was bad for them. So that deal, notice that ever since he announced that, nobody said a word about it since. Because when the automakers threw a fit to him, they just kind of scrapped that and act like it didn't happen. So we don't have a deal with the
Yeah.
UK. China is upsetting Trump now. We gotta okay. I'm gonna go out of order here. Brett, have you heard of the term taco trade? This just started in the
Oh
last
yeah.
week.
Oh yeah.
So a guy that writes for the Financial Times, and I don't even want to pretend I read the Financial Times, but this guy coined the term taco trade. Taco stands for Trump always chickens out. And it caught on. It caught on with the Wall Street Journal was writing, like papers that Trump reads were using the phrase taco trade. So it within a day or two, that thing went super viral.
Perfect. It's amazing.
So in the White House, this is our first video of the night. I was trying to save this for down the line, but this was too good. Somebody finally asked Trump about the taco trade. So this is a video from Fox we're going to check out real quick.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out.
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out?
Okay. First of all, I've watched this like 6 times today, and
Mhm.
every time I laugh because it's
So
hilarious. And
what?
second of all, if you just look at Janine Pirro, she almost busts out laughing in the background
Yeah.
during this.
Well, let's take what he said real quick, point by point. So he first of all he said, "Oh, you mean because I took China from 145 to 100 to another number?" He didn't want to say from 145 down to 30 because that's a huge drop. So he kind of he's like, and he never went. He didn't go from 145 to 100 to another number. He went
No.
straight from 145 to 30. Okay, and it was 10, but with 20% added for fentanyl, so 30. But he tried to muddy the waters there with that. And then he said, and I told them they had to open up their whole country. That was nowhere in the deal. So he's now trying to act like he got something for it, which he did not.
But you're saying you said deal. There's no deal. There's
He
zero
just
deals.
he what the deal was, if it and nothing was written down, but what the deal was is he's going to drop it down to 30 and we're going to have talks. Like we're in the future, we're going to talk. Is that was all he got is they committed to talk. Real
Dude,
quick.
this is like playing bake sale with a like 3-year-old. And they're just like, "Oh yes, here's my plastic muffin." And you're like, "Well, how much do I owe you?" And they're like, $300.
Mhm. That's where we're at. Well, and since that deal got made, and everybody thinks this is why Trump flew off the handle with them this morning. Apparently, this happened like 2 days ago, but nobody's reporting it yet here, and I don't know why. And I need somebody to start talking about this. But China and the ASEAN, ASEAN, it's the Asian South something, but it's all the Philippines and a lot of countries, Cambodia,
ASEAN,
Myanmar,
ASEAN.
ASEAN, I can't say it, but all those countries form a trade union, and they are together. All those countries have as much purchasing power as the United States. So you'd say that we're kind of equal to them. China and them, and then a bunch of Middle East countries, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, all got together and signed a deal 2 days ago for free trade. And they agreed in that deal that they're not going to use the dollar for trade, which is a huge blow to us. So
Whoa.
they're probably going to
Whoa.
use the yen or whatever, the Chinese currency, but
Hmm.
they're not going to use the dollar. And that's what set Trump off this morning. So I woke up this morning and Trump had a long tweet about how China's violating the deal, and everybody's like, there was no deal. Like, you mean they're
Yeah.
not talking? I think they are. There's still supposed to be talks in the future, but he's mad because they bought some time and now they're going around making even more. They've already signed so many deals. So from the day we started this, China just hit the road and started signing deals with everybody they could. And
Yep.
now they did this big one, which this is a threat to us as far as like this will impact the value of the dollar, which causes all kinds of downstream effects. So that's why he's
Yeah.
mad right now. Um,
I mean, so your friend was saying, "Oh, what do you think about all these great deals Trump's signing?" Like, is that kind of all like where are they getting that information from?
both, and I'm not picking on the right here. Both sides are in straight information bubbles, like where they're shocked at what the other side is hearing. Okay, and I try so hard to jump back and forth all day long from bubble to bubble and see what everybody's
Right.
saying. And I don't think there's a lot of people that have any clue what's happening in the other bubble, and that's where we're at.
Right.
And
But even if you're listening to Fox News all day, and I don't, but are they saying they say, "Oh, there's a deal with UK and there's a deal with China,"
they
or the
re
deal with China is like bouncing back and forth, or I don't get it because there's supposed to be 90 in 90 days.
the trade deal with the UK, because that was only 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they repeatedly kept referring to it as a deal, and like guests they were having on, even ones that were like Trump supporting guests, would always correct them and be like, "Hey, this isn't a deal," and they would just blow right by that and be like, "Well, the deal's good," and blah blah blah, and like several people tried to point it out on air, it wasn't a deal, and they just no 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 no, they didn't
Yeah,
want to hear it.
yeah.
So,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's what like. One other buddy I have, and I know he's told me before that he only gets his news from OAN and Alex Jones. Those are the only two places he will get it. And like when I talk to him a lot, he'll be like, "What do you mean? Like we are crushing it in the trade war?" And I'm just like, "Oh my!" Like I don't know how to explain. Like things are not going well for us right now. Like anyhow,
we are isolating ourselves, which is not good.
yeah.
We have been isolated. It's not even we're isolating ourselves. China has isolated the rest of the world from us at this point.
Well, and I was reading somebody, and they were saying that when Trump did the tariffs against China the first time, that was like 2018. And since that moment, they've been preparing for the next time America tries to do like an economic war on them. So they've had a playbook, like they've been planning it out and strategizing what they're going to do. And the second Trump said Liberation Day, they went to work and started executing their playbook. So they were and not just a plan of trade deals to be had, but ways to like insulate their economy to where like they wouldn't be as hurt through a trade war as they would have been pre 2018.
So let's say 2028 rolls around and a Democrat gets elected and we start like
Nobody's
actually negotiating.
Nobody will trust us at this point because you might get 4 years of a boring Democrat, and then you could get 4 years of either JD or Don Jr.
Well, let's just say they do trust us. Let's say the other countries like our old allies, our good buddies, the UK and Canada and France and Germany and Italy. Let's just say they go, okay, we got a Democrat in office. We're gonna make a little small trade deal with the US. We're gonna start and the US starts riding the ship. What is Fox News and OAN? What are they gonna say? Oh, the US, let's just
They'll
say it's
find
Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg is negotiating with France now. This is horrible.
no, they won't even talk about it. And this is the thing that Fox is really good at is like if Biden did anything good, they just never mentioned it. Like their viewers had no clue that it happened, and they would
Right.
only focus on Hunter Biden or whatever. And Joe Biden's full of gaffes. He says a different gaffe every time he talks. So they would only focus on that, and it's just not. Both sides are capable of this. Fox is the best. I think Fox set the standard on how to do it, and now the left is trying to copy it. But there's this whole thing called lying through omission, which is like you're not lying, you're just not mentioning. You're leaving out half the story or whatever it is. And Fox figured out how to do that artfully. And now I notice that MSNBC and other channels on the left are trying to do it as well. Which I gotta say, there's a lot of like left-leaning YouTube channels and podcasts that I'm starting to hate now because they're doing what Fox does. They're sensationalizing everything and kind of overblowing everything and like, oh, a huge even the one that everybody's listening to. What's the Midas Touch? Like his video titles are like crushing blow to Trump on Fox News, and then I'll be like, oh, and I'll watch it, and it's like, oh, it was embarrassing, but it wasn't. And I hated how the right-leaning shows did that, and the left is doing it now too, and it bothers the hell out of me. So
we're gonna start doing that, Andy. Like this, the title of this is gonna be Trump dies an ugly death in the White House.
Don't even say those words together in a statement. That wasn't me, FBI. That was him. We did not say that.
That's our title of our video, just to get views.
I know, and it works so good because like it Midas Touch fools me 3 or 4 times a week. Where like I'm like, oh, something terrible happened from Trump today, and then I watch the video, and within 2 or 3 minutes, I'm like, this was nothing. And
no, I unfollowed a guy today because the title of his video was Trump suffers
embarrassing defeat or something.
No, it wasn't even that. It was ailment in the White House. Trump suffers big fall in the White House or something like that. And I was like, what? And I clicked on it, and then I like started listening to it. I was like, okay, this isn't it. And I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled, and there was nothing about him like getting sick or ending up in the hospital or whatever it was. Like,
yeah, can't stand it. So I only follow Midas Touch because I saw that they apparently surpassed Rogan in the past couple months, and they're the number one. So I was like, oh, I should pay attention. This is the number one. Man, I gotta tell you, not a fan. Like just in general, not a fan.
I'm a fan. I agree with the sensationalization of the
It's
titles.
a problem. So
it's a weird thing that they're doing to become better and to spread their message, right?
Yeah. So anyhow,
and all the left is doing that.
We're getting so off track tonight, but it's enjoyable. But real quick, let's finish out on the trade war. Scott Bessent was on Fox in the last couple days, and so we're aiming for 90 deals in 90 days, right? To me and you, it doesn't look like we're close. But if you remember,
we have what 37 days to get 90 deals now.
It seems like it, somewhere around there.
Okay. Okay.
But every week, somebody from the administration, it could be Trump, could be Stephen Miller, Bessent, but somebody will come out and say, "Oh, we're really close. In fact, we might be announcing a couple deals later this week." Like they've said that every Monday, and
2 weeks.
and we'll talk about that later. But but they always say like, "Well, we might pay attention. We might announce one later this week," and they haven't yet. So Scott Bessent goes on Fox, and Fox has been a little, they're starting to point out like, hey, where are all these deals? Like that's where they're kind of at right now. So real quick, check this out, and then we'll talk about it here. This is Scott Bessent on Fox.
On the tariffs that you mentioned, you had a lot of discussions in Canada. Japan was a part of that. You've talked about Japan a lot. If the Japanese is not the next country to do a deal, who is?
As I mentioned before, we're far along with India, and they got in early on. Many of the Asian countries have come with very good deals. So there are 18 important trading partners, and I would say with the exception of the EU, most are negotiating in very good faith.
Who do you think goes first?
Bill, we're going to have to see.
Is it a summer battle? Do we take this into the fall? And if we take it into the fall, are we talking about 2026 to do a deal that you can announce publicly?
With the EU?
With the EU, with anybody. You pick it.
No, look, these deals are moving quickly, and I think as we approach the end of the 90-day period, we're going to see more and more of them announced.
Okay, is that July then?
I think that's the 90 days.
Okay, so we will look for that then.
Okay. So what happens if they don't get any deals done in 90 days?
So hold on, before we even say that, how confident did that man seem to you that deals are right around the corner?
Not confident at all.
I felt like the confidence was zero, and I might be just reading into that with a biased, take. But
yeah,
he didn't seem like he was ready to announce anything. And they've been telling us for weeks. He said India's the closest. And the whole holdup with India right now is Apple, when the tariffs went on China, Apple said, okay, cool, we'll just move production to India. And India was all for that. Trump is not happy with that. So that whole iPhone making is what's holding up India right now.
What was our trade deal with India before?
I don't think we had much trade barriers with India. I don't believe.
Right. It was like pretty much open trade, right?
But there's certain countries like South Korea and Australia. We had zero tariffs on them. They had zero on us. We weren't accusing them of manipulating their currency or anything. Those deals should have been done day one, like up 0-0. We're doing free trade, fully open. Let's have it. And somehow they haven't done deals with them. So
what's holding up Australia?
We have a trade surplus with Australia. We don't buy hardly anything from them, and they buy a lot from us. Australia should have been the first one done. Japan, everybody thought Japan would be an easy one. And remember, Japan came over, had one meeting with us, and left early, and were pissed on the way out, went back home and started talking shit about us to their parliament. Like, they basically said, I don't know why the U.S. even invited us. Like, they were mad. And then, like, a week later, they signed a deal with China. So I don't think we're close.
I'm so confused as to what is going on. What is Trump even thinking? What is the administration thinking?
Well,
who's in charge? What is going on?
And then on top of that,
this is so insane. This is just so insane, Andy.
So on top of the no trade deals, we now have Trump. Trump knows about the taco trade. Okay.
Yeah.
The guy who came up with that term, I follow on Twitter now. And as soon as they asked him about that in the Oval Office, he tweeted like 10 minutes later. So funny. He said, the number one rule of taco trade is you don't tell the president about taco trade. And then even like on breaking points, Ryan Grimm was like, why did they have to tell him? He's going to re-raise the tariffs. He's definitely gonna. And sure enough, this morning he comes out and he's mad at China, and people are, he didn't say he's going to raise them on China, but he's mad at them. This afternoon, he raised steel tariffs from 25 to 50%. So now he has to prove to everybody that he's not chicken. It was funny to watch that reporter ask him, but it would have been better for all of us if we would have just not told him about taco trade. He didn't need to know. Now he thinks that how certain people like weird insults stick with people. Trump, I think we found the one that bothers Trump. You can call him a lot of things, but if you call him a chicken, like that seems to hit a nerve.
Well, I think it's the fact that he's a bad trader. He's a bad negotiator. He's
Dude,
trade.
have you not read
And
Art of the Deal? I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is what this man does. This makes great deals
that's what
all
I'm
day long.
saying. That's what I'm saying is like this guy is a giant fraud. He wrote Art of the Deal. When did he write Art of the Deal? In the 90s?
Yeah, late 90s.
How many bankruptcies had he already gone through in the late 90s?
A
Was that
couple?
halfway through
I
the
don't know.
seven?
I think most of them happened before the 2000s. Because like early 2000s is when he made his comeback, the art of the comeback, and like he's been on a roll since then. So the 90s, the 80s and 90s where we had like Trump Airlines and Trump Steaks and Atlantic City, his casinos that went under. So like that was the 90s were bad to him. I think since
His
the
last,
early
I think his last bankruptcy was like right in 2008, 2007, 2008 when he got into real estate, like real estate investing.
well, and was Trump University a bankruptcy or not? I can't remember with that. That might have he got sued, but I don't know if that was a
No,
bankruptcy.
he ended up having to pay out, yeah, everybody
Yeah.
who enrolled in Trump
I
University.
don't know. To finish up on trade real quick, this guy is like a professor of economics at the University of Michigan or something, and he's been on all the channels recently, and he's maybe Australian or something. I don't know. He's got an accent, but he cracks me up the way he talks about Trump's trade. So last thing on trade, this is from CNN. Here's a little trade recap for you.
Let's do it. So he imposes tariffs on April 2. 7 days later says, I'm just kidding. I didn't actually want tariffs. I wanted leverage for bargains. I'm going to do bargains with 192 other countries. We fast forward a couple of weeks and he says, I'm going to do 90 deals in 90 days, which of course leaves 102 countries out in the cold. We have a deal then that's announced with the United Kingdom whose final sentence is both parties agree this is not a binding legal agreement. So that's zero.
Very watered down deal as well.
A few days later, we have a deal with China. That deal is both countries agree to talk.
Right.
That's great. And then we're all out of deals. And then what's best, by the way, is the reason he imposed, and then oh, sorry, I missed a part. He then says we're not going to get 90 deals in 90 days because it turns out trying to talk to 90 people all at the same time is really hard. So we're just going to send you a letter. We're not going to have a talk. We're going to send you a letter. And in the midst of all that, the official reason that he's angry with the EU is because he thinks they've been uncooperative in trying to come to a trade agreement.
All right. Do you have an uncle, like you're married? No, when you got married, did you have an uncle that you were like, I really don't want this guy to come to my wedding?
So no, I got some weird uncles, but I knew they were coming. But let's just say, let's make him a fictional uncle, Clarence. I don't know. Let's just say Clarence.
Sure.
So,
Love my Uncle Clarence.
Yeah, you have one of those uncles, I think. Yeah,
He's a good uncle, and I welcome his conspiracy theories every day. He's actually might come on our show.
Oh God, I can't wait for that. He wrote a book, right? That's like I think he has a book on Amazon about conspiracy theories.
It's great. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Every now and then
when he comes up.
Every now and then when I remember that the story of Uncle Clarence, I'm like, that's where Dusk still comes from. It makes sense now. So yeah. Anyhow, all right, so let's get out of trade. No deals on the horizon. Well, before 90 days is up, he will knock out some, like Australia should be an easy one. We probably will get an European Union deal of some kind. But I'm guessing none of these deals will be much better than what we already had, but he'll knock out some easy deals. I don't think it's going to be anything great for us. And then on top of that, we can go into this next time, but two courts this week said that he doesn't have the power to do the tariffs, but then a court today, or I think last night, lifted the stay, but it's still going ahead to further court. So they might take away his power to tariff altogether. And I'm not prepared to talk about that yet, but that's been up this week. So
yeah, because they banned it, but then somebody reinstated it.
So two courts said he didn't have the power to do it, and they basically did an injunction, a TRO, temporary restraining order, saying that the tariffs are off till we can figure this out. And then an appeals court said, hey, the case still needs to move forward, but the tariff should be on while we figure it out versus off while we figure it out. So either way, a court could still say, but there's no restraining order on the tariffs right now.
What do you think are like? What do you think the chances are that we get any deals that are better than what we had before?
I think we'll get a couple that are slightly better, like when he renegotiated NAFTA and called it the USMCA. It was NAFTA with like one or two changes that were a little bit better for us. It wasn't bad. It's just
okay.
Yeah. So he That's what we're going to get. And it's all going to prove that all the pain that this caused across the world economy wise is not going to be worth the little bit of gain we get. That's my prediction on what
He
happens
just
here.
went out this like the complete opposite, the the complete wrong way, right? Just blanket tariffs across the world. Let's just do 10% tariffs across the world. China, you're getting 150. You EU, you're getting 30. Like you're getting 40. Like we're just
The,
gonna tariff everybody. The Penguins, you're getting 10.
the way to do it was to strengthen our deals with everybody in the world and then go after China unified as one. We've talked about that. He clearly did not think to try it that way. So
Right, but what are we looking for out of China? Like, didn't we have good, like everybody's getting cheap product? That's what America wants is cheap products. Like, what are we looking for from China?
So the cheap products are a benefit, but there were issues that need to be resolved with China. Like somebody finally had to address the China issue, and a lot of it was them stealing our intellectual property and whatnot.
Yeah.
They take our products and make their own version, and I guess we can't hold them accountable for copyright laws. I don't want to pretend to be an expert on all this, but and also currency manipulation. Like there were things China was doing that gave them an edge on trade over us that you could say was not fair. Totally reasonable. So for Trump to go after China, and Trump came in and said, "Hey, we're gonna fix this China thing, but the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna strengthen all our relationships around the world, and then everybody, 182 countries versus China. Let's do this." And that would have been that would have been a straight out trade war, and prices on electronics probably would have gone up, but it would have been the right way to do it. And I think that he could have gotten all of America on board with it versus what he did, where like roughly 35% of the country right now is like, okay, we trust him. This hurts for now, but we trust him. And 65% of the country is like, get us out of this. And that's according to recent polling. So
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I mean, didn't Elon? So here's the thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, first of all, Elon came out and said he wanted to get rid of all patents, all copyright and patents not too long ago.
I did not see that, but okay.
This was something I believe it was from Elon. But what I've really been thinking about lately is with AI, and we have the copyright office, and you submit your copyright for, or let's just say like a rudder that folds up when you hit a rock or something. And you go to the copyright office and they approve your copyright, and you have copyright for like, I think it's 10 years.
Okay.
So what is to say that AI can't just completely rewrite that copyright and change one little thing on that copyright to make yours basically infringe upon their copyright without infringing upon their copyright?
So apparently you're right. I just looked. He's been against patents and copyrights since 2014. He thinks it hinders innovation and they're for the weak. He apparently released
For the weak.
He apparently released all of Tesla's patents, making them freely available for others to use in hopes of accelerating progress towards sustainable energy. I got no problem with that. I don't know enough. I don't even want to pretend I know enough about patent law to say whether we should have it or not. I'm not prepared to make a decision.
Well, it just muddies the water. Like, so one thing, like, in the outdoor industry, somebody comes out with a brand new, let's just say tent stake.
Okay.
That's like aerodynamic. It like cuts through cement. It's like the greatest tent stake ever made.
Okay.
The problem with this with China is the Chinese, they go to these trade shows and they go around to the booths and they see all these new inventions. And I've heard from a couple different people where the next day they'll have a booth across the hall from them with the exact same product as theirs. Like they're going down, they're 3D printing their product and selling it across the street.
Okay.
They
shouldn't be allowed to do that, I'm guessing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's illegal in the United States, but then maybe they change one thing. I don't know, but
that's
I've heard
basically
this happening multiple times. So,
and that's basically what China does to us: is we come out with a new product, they come over here and buy one, take it home, reverse engineer it, call it their own thing, and then boom, and they don't have to. They can get around all
cut the
patent
price
laws.
in half, and and they'll sell it on Amazon.
And then they apparently a lot of times with technology wise, they don't even try to sell it back into the United States, but they sell it to everybody else around the world. So
they do in the United States too. I mean, you go on Amazon and you look at like, what's, easy bake oven. Let's just say something like that.
Okay.
There's definitely a Chinese version of that that's half the price on Amazon, right?
Well, when you look to buy like computer accessories, you'll see like the same thing like four different times, and like the first time it's like Samsung or Wingate or some name and then the
Uh-huh.
next three are like words that they don't even make sense, and it's like what it looks like the same product, and that's the Chinese one.
Exact same
Yeah,
product. Yeah.
yeah, that
Made
makes
with a little
sense.
bit cheaper materials and yeah,
So like I
just straight
said,
out of China.
that needed to be addressed. So I have no problem if he would have come in office and said we're going after China. Like, it would have hurt a little bit. It would have hurt all across the economy, but we had a chance to really win. The way this is playing out right now, we're not going to come out any better against China than we were to be. We'll be lucky to just get back to where we were. And I don't even think that's possible right now with how they've increased their market share all across the world with every other country. Like they don't need us. We don't have any leverage. Like they have all the leverage. So I hate to say that, but we're screwed when it comes to them. And even Canada and Mexico. Canada, I don't know if you saw it. So Trump's trying to do the whole Golden Dome missile defense, which is a copy of the Iron Dome in Israel. And then Reagan in the 80s had the Star Wars missile defense that he fantasized about. We were not ready technology wise to do it back then. But it's basically a ripoff of both of those. It's the Trump version of those two things. And he said the other day, he tweeted that if he said that Canada wants in on it, and it will cost them their share of it would be $61 billion, or they can become the 51st state and have it for free. And at the end of the tweet, he said, they are considering our offer. Canada came out immediately. Carney came out and was like, no, and we don't want to be any part of this Golden Dome missile defense. Like he shot that down. Apparently, I read later, and I don't know if this is true or not, that really it doesn't work without Canada. Like NORAD right now, this would replace NORAD. And NORAD's the North American something, something, something. But like
Right.
Canada and being able to see what's coming over the polar ice caps over Canada is a huge part of our missile defense. And without Canada, it does not work. So if we were going to do a Golden Dome, we have to get Canada involved, or else it's kind of pointless. That's what I read. I don't know if that's true or not. Either way,
Well,
Trump's an idiot. So the big beautiful bill. Let's get on this real quick. The big beautiful bill. I think we talked about it after it passed, but it passed the House. It's on to the Senate. We have several Senate Republicans who have said that they are not voting for it. It's dead on arrival. Right now, as the bill stands, it cuts $300 billion in food assistance, $500 billion in Medicare, $800 billion in Medicaid, and $358 billion in the ACA, which is Obamacare. So it's going after food assistance and then healthcare. I've seen different estimates: 10 million, 15 million people will lose their health care. The Republicans, their line on this is that all we're doing is kicking off the illegals and the people who are, abusing the system, people who could work, but they're choosing not to. So that's the whole thing. The other angle,
and hold on, all of their children. That's the thing, is the people who they're kicking off have children.
Yes.
And their children are going to get kicked off of Medicaid and Medicare.
Apparently, like a huge percentage, like 70% of the people on Medicare and Medicaid are children. Like I did not know that. I'm learning this now. The left is saying that, well, there's a bunch of people who are suffering from drug addiction who use Medicare and Medicaid to go to rehab facilities and all that to get clean, and they don't have jobs because they're addicted to drugs. So they need this. And if you take it away from them, which those are the people we're talking about that don't work, like now, like you say, we have a drug problem, an amphetamine problem, whatever, we've got a problem in this country. We need to address it. The Medicare and Medicaid are part of addressing it right now. So unless we're going to replace that with free clinics or I don't know. I haven't heard any other options, but if that's if a big portion of the people we're kicking off are kids or drug addicts who are using Medicare and Medicaid to get clean, that's a problem. But anyhow, I didn't pull it. I'm gonna pull it and insert it here. But Jody Ernst had a Senate, not a Senate, sorry, a town hall in Iowa, and they were asking her about all these Medicare cuts, and one of the people in the audience said, "People are gonna die," and she goes, "So what? Everybody, or we're all gonna die," or something like that. Yeah, and everybody was just like, people went nuts, and it's like, yeah, that needs to be made into an ad right away. Whoever's running against her next, use that all day long.
And if you think about it, like a lot of the people who are on Medicaid and Medicare are in the South or in the red states, in the poorer states, right? I think there was something
Apparently, rural hospitals are the main thing this will affect. Like a lot of rural
Oh,
hospitals will close down. And when you
yep.
look at that election map where the whole map's red and there's these little blue dots, well, all that red space, there's not a lot of people living out there. Like that's more land than people. And that's where these rural hospitals are that are going to close down. So
Yeah.
by all accounts, it's going to affect red states and red voters more than blue states and blue voters. But a lot of it, and I told you this, he's got a lot of it. I don't know if I told you this on the air or not, but a lot of it is a weird math trick where they're counting the savings now, but it doesn't kick in until after 2026. So nobody will feel the pain until after the midterms.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
shouldn't
they'll
be
somehow
allowed.
blame it on the Democrats and
They shouldn't be allowed to do that, but yeah, they're making all these cuts now that take place just after the midterms, so they can hopefully keep their seats. I'm not a fan of that. One of the senators that said he is not voting for this is Rand Paul. Here he is on Fox News.
Biden spending levels when March, every Republican, virtually every Republican other than me, voted to continue the Biden spending levels, which are going to give us a $2.2 trillion deficit. Now, if you increase the debt ceiling $4 to $5 trillion, that means they're planning on $2 trillion this year and more than $2 trillion next year. That's just not conservative. So I've told them if they strip out the debt ceiling, I'll consider, even with the imperfections, voting for the rest of the bill. But I can't vote to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. There's got to be someone left in Washington who thinks debt is wrong and deficits are wrong and wants to go in the other direction. The idea that we're going to explode deficits and the projections are now looking at over $3 trillion in deficits over the next 10 years, I think is just, not a serious proposal.
So Rand Paul does not like this bill, and there's enough of them like him. That means this is going to change. What got passed in the House is going to get changed, and it's going to have to go back to the House to get voted on. What I hate to tell you, Docs, is that it's going to get changed, but not in the way that you're going to like. They're mad that it doesn't cut enough, and it's a fun math game because there's about at least five Republican senators that are mad it doesn't cut enough, and then there's maybe 2 or 3 that are mad that it cuts at all. They want it to cut a lot less. And there's Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins missing one.
well, that's a good problem for us to have, I think. What they want to cut more Medicaid?
They want to cut more of everything. Here's the thing. This bill, even though the Republicans,
why are we trying to give these tax cuts to the rich? This is the problem. This is my whole fucking problem. Is tax cuts to the goddamn rich. This is what I'm saying.
And that's the rub is here's the way the two sides look at it, okay? We haven't had a balanced budget in I don't know since the 90s. We're adding to the debt every year. We've got to do something about this. There are 2 ways that it's looked at. The left thinks we should tax the upper class more to pay for it, and the Republicans think we should cut spending and for some reason at the same time taxes. So we'll take in less money and cut spending, and that's how we're going to get out of this. So that's what it comes to. Do we cut the social safety net, or what kills me is the place where we could really do some cutting would be the Pentagon. Everybody knows that. The left and the right talk about they haven't passed an audit in 7 years or something like that. Like the Pentagon's the place to find the waste, fraud, and abuse, and we didn't cut anything from the Pentagon. In fact, Trump very happily said he was increasing it 150 billion to be just over $1 trillion of our budget's going to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
I'm all for defense. The Republican in me is all for having a strong military and good defense, but there is so much waste, and I don't know about fraud or abuse, but just waste in our military. And buddies that we have that were overseas that we'll talk about, oh yeah, they would blow things up or leave it there because it costs too much to ship back. And it's if it's a tank or a helicopter, I gotta think that you ship that back. But the thing is, if you blow it up over there, then the industrial military complex over here, they get to build and sell a new tank or build and sell a new helicopter. So blow it up over there and have them make us a new one here, and that keeps the yeah. Anyhow, that's where we're at.
But we're paying for that.
Yeah. So whatever bill goes back to the House is going to be even worse as far as you're concerned than the one that's already passed the House. And then at that point, we have a math game in the House because there are a lot of Republicans that are in blue districts that are afraid of losing their seat that can't have more cuts. So something's going to get passed. I'm telling you right now, something will get passed. It has to, because we have to raise the debt ceiling by August or September, or else the government just shuts down. So they will pass something.
We're not economists, right?
No.
You're not an accountant. I'm not an accountant.
I'm probably the last guy that should be talking about the economy.
right. But it seems very logical the way that they could actually like get stuff done. If like if they really wanted to get rid of the deficit or start like at least picking at the deficit,
Okay.
wouldn't you raise taxes on the wealthy
Me,
even in a minute fashion, just a little bit? Wouldn't that help a little bit, right?
oh, it would help a lot.
Okay.
Like so
I don't know. I don't
here's
know.
the
I
thing
don't
is
know where we're going with that. I'm frustrated with this whole stupid thing because they want to take everything away from the poor people and give everything to the rich people. And it's like, I mean, it's just a class war at this point.
it is, and I'm in no man's land here because the left wants to keep spending where it's at and just tax the rich enough to pay for all the things we decided we need. Like that's kind of their thing. Is like spending's not the problem. We just need to raise taxes till we balance the budget. I don't 100% agree with that. The right thinks we need to lower taxes and cut spending and cut all forms of social safety net. I don't agree with that. I think it needs to be a healthy balance where we try to get the government to be lean and efficient. Like that part of DOGE, I am all about. Now, the way he went in with a chainsaw is the wrong way to do it. But if you just overall, if you say, hey, could we make the US government more lean and efficient and not waste as much money? Everybody's down with that. So we need to do that. Try to cut spending through that. And then also raise taxes a bit. Not as much as the left wants to raise taxes, but raise taxes on especially the upper class quite a bit. It's the only way we're going to get out of this. We are headed. I mean, if you look at so Rand Paul just said there, it looks like it's going to be between 2 and 3 trillion more the next 2 years is what they're asking because that's what they're asking to raise the debt ceiling by. So
What
that's going to put
when
us.
America when was America at its best? When the middle class was like growing at its strongest and we claimed to be the best we ever were.
Back
Like where were taxes for the rich? That was like they
taxes
were like
they were in the high 70s.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
the
That
highest
was
the
like the
highest
40s, the 30s, 40s.
30 all the way up to like Reagan. Like Reagan was who totally flipped it on its head. And yeah. And that's when he came out with the whole trickle down economics thing. Now you could say the economy in the late 60s into the 70s started not working for everyone. So something needed to happen. Like we were dominant in like the 50s and most of the way through the 60s. And then in the 70s, we were not alive for it. I don't want to pretend I know what's going on, but like the gas, they were rationing gas at times and rubber and this and that. And like there were issues. So something needed to be done. Reagan's thing was, oh, I know, we'll cut taxes on the wealthiest, and then that'll inspire them to create more jobs and this and that. The first time we tried it, I almost don't blame them for it. It's like, oh, it's a theory. Let's give it a shot. What the problem is that the trickle down economics has happened like 4 different times we've tried it, and it's not worked once. It's never trickled down to the middle class. And for some reason, like every 8 years, we're like, hey, let's give this a shot. And it's like it didn't work.
Well, it's always a Republican. It's
it is.
always a Republican that does trickle
Yeah.
down economics, and then it crashes the economy, and then a Democrat has to slowly rebuild the economy.
Yeah, Reagan did it, and then Bush W did it, and then because Reagan did it, and if you remember George H.W. Bush, we were 10 years old at the time, but he ran on his main thing was read my lips, no new taxes, and then he got into office, and he did not want to add to our debt, so he was like, hey, we're gonna have to raise taxes, and that's why he ended up losing. So he lied. He said no new taxes. But Reagan did it. W did it in the early 2000s.
Wait, who built it back from Reagan though?
Clinton. And Clinton was the last president that had a balanced budget. We've talked about this. It wasn't just because of him though. The Republicans, Newt Gingrich in particular, like
He was kind of a true moderate, right?
He was.
Like,
Clinton was very moderate. And Hillary was so moderate, she was almost like a light Republican. Like it was interesting. Trying to make Hillary seem like she's far left is hysterical to me. It's like she's almost a Republican.
she's very warmongery.
Yes, she is. Anyhow, but yeah, no. Back in the 90s, Newt Gingrich, the Republicans took power in like 94 or 96 and basically said, hey, we're not going to pass a budget unless it's balanced. Like we are not going to let you. And to Clinton's credit, he took that and goes, oh, awesome. Like I've been wanting to do this. Let's do it, guys. And he could have tried to throw a fit, but they would have won that information battle against him. Hey, he's mad because he wants to add to the debt. So he played it just right and said, let's do it. Let's do it together for America, baby.
I remember, I mean, growing up in Texas, Clinton being president, going to high school, we have friends who are super Republican, and I remember them just talking so much smack about Bill Clinton. Just it
Yeah.
was every day. It was something Bill Clinton, and it was Monica Lewinsky and Hillary and Bill, and like I mean, Bill Clinton couldn't do anything right. But now looking back at it, he's like the most moderate president we've had ever, probably, right?
Well, he wasn't the most moderate ever. But what's funny is the way I remember it, honestly, even back then, you kind of couldn't hate on Bill. You could with the whole Monica thing. Well, once that happened, but Hillary took a lot of the fire back. I remember, like, as like a 10-year-old, I was hearing like Hillary Clinton's a bitch. Like, I remember hearing that a lot. There
But
was
you were listening to what's his name?
I was listening to our
Rush.
friends' dads. No, I was listening to our friends' dads
Oh.
at that point. And
Okay.
I remember even we'd go to Ranger games and there was a joke that was like, hey, Bill Clinton was at the Ranger game and they asked him if he wanted to throw out the first pitch. And he threw Hillary onto the field and they said, no, no, no. I said first pitch, not pitch. That was a joke I remember as like in the 90s at Rangers games.
Of course, of course.
So anyhow,
Deep
real
red
quick,
Texas.
I have to think about this and I'm trying to find the dates here. Ann Richards. You remember who Ann Richards was?
I remember the name. She was a Texas, like,
She was the governor of Texas when we were little, and she was a Democrat.
That's right.
Yeah, she was
Oh.
like 90 through 95. And she was like that.
Oh.
That's just crazy. Every time I think back at that, it's like, yeah, we had a Democrat governor in Texas in the 90s. Who would have thought?
Dude, bring her back. Let's get rid of what's his name in Texas.
So what's funny is it Abbott? Thank God I knew it was Abbott.
Oh.
There was a Democrat Congress. I think it was Cori Bush, one of the Democrat Congress ladies. And she referred to him as Governor Hot Wheels. And now, like, every time I say that's wrong and we shouldn't laugh at that, but like every time I see him, that's the first thing that pops into my head. And
Somebody needs to take him to an Oakland Raiders game.
oh God, pushing down the stairs.
Back in the day.
Okay, yeah. Raiders fans will get that joke. Anyhow, sorry, we're so off track.
Perfectly fine.
Finishing out on the big beautiful bill. Not only do several Senate Democrats hate this bill, you won't believe who else has got a problem with the big beautiful bill. One of Trump's closest confidants. This is a sneak peek.
Putin.
Nope. Hold on. Putin turns out doesn't know.
Putin hates the bill.
This is a sneak peek at what's going to air this Sunday morning on CBS.
So, I was like disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
So Elon's not a fan, and all the cuts that we've spent, all of the money we've saved in these different departments, their budgets did not go down because of this. So what's in this new bill basically takes away every Elon cut, and they're just going to go back to the level of spending they were before Elon. So it's a big beautiful bill, and now Trump has.
Aren't they talking? Aren't they talking about how like what Elon did in Doge is actually going to cost us more money than he's saving? So first, let's go back through this. I know we've talked about this before, but at first it was like we're going to cut 2 trillion, and then it was like we're going to cut 1 trillion, and then it was like we're going to cut half a trillion, and we're going to give everybody $5,000.
Yeah, the $5,000 checks didn't last long, but that was the thing for a minute. Yeah.
And now, what did he end up with? 150 billion?
So he's claiming 165 billion. The New York Times, who's been the Doge tracker, is saying that there's not receipts for like more than half of that. Like they're just pulling numbers out of the air. Like where is this money coming from? And then their calculations that it's actually something like 80 billion. Which, don't get me wrong, trimming $80 billion, if it truly is waste, fraud, or abuse from the government, I'm all about. It appears that it wasn't. It was people running the veteran suicide hotline that for some reason we slashed.
That's not waste, fraud, or abuse.
We slashed that by 60%, I think, and now people are getting put on hold for anyhow. But
so people are killing themselves. So veterans are killing themselves.
So, and you said that it's going to end up costing us more than it saves. It hasn't yet, but there's several lawsuits working their way up right now over Doge. And if the government has to pay out what people think they will, then overall Doge will have cost us a certain amount. I don't know what the dollar amount is. But that hasn't happened yet. Maybe they'll win all these lawsuits. I don't know.
But you know how much money Elon made off of that?
Oh, it was like a couple billion, right? Like I saw that he donated like 230 million for the election, and because of that, he's getting like 2.3 billion that he would have had to pay in fines that he's not having to pay now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a great deal for him, great business move. All
Oh,
those guys except for Zuckerberg turns out like made a deal with the devil and it's paying off. Zuckerberg tried to make the deal with the devil, and there's a whole monopoly lawsuit going through right now having to do with he owns Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, several of them. I don't know, and they're basically saying he needs to break them all up and sell pieces of it off. And
oh, really?
he thought that getting in bed with Trump, and apparently no, the government's pushing forward with that case. So
I would love it if they sold Instagram off.
yeah, I don't. Instagram is the one app I have no issue with right now. Like
That's what I'm saying is I would just like to get rid of Instagram. Facebook is annoying. I would like to get off of Facebook, but it's connected to Instagram, and it's
it's
like,
true.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. On
Instagram
another
is,
note, have you heard Stephen Miller's new nickname?
no, I haven't.
Pee Wee German.
Oh my God, that's perfect. Okay, yeah, that's
Have you looked at him?
perfect. The weird thing is, real quick, he puts off all these white nationalist vibes with everything he says and everything he tweets, but I think he's Jewish. I'm not 100% on that, but I think he's Jewish.
Oh.
So hold on.
We need to put a photo of him up because Pee Wee German is the perfect name for him. If you just look at him.
The second of three children in a Jewish family of Michael D. Miller. Yeah, so
Okay.
he must not be a practicing Jew. But yeah, that always throws me for a curveball. So I'm like, oh, that racist white nationalist bastard. And then you remember that he's Jewish, and it's like, oh yeah, hold on, wait, how does that work?
I think you can still be racist and white nationalist and Jewish.
You can be racist and Jewish, but that means that you look down upon like Muslims and Christians, I believe. Like most
Yeah.
white nationalists, here's the thing, I'll make this real clear. Not all Republicans are racist or white nationalists, but there are some white nationalists in our country, and they all vote Republican. So that's all I'm saying.
All racists and white nationalists vote Republican.
They do, but that doesn't mean that all Republicans are that. So, but anyhow,
Okay.
remember the people marching through Charlottesville in like 2017 with the tiki torches? Jews will not replace us. Like those are
Right.
the white nationalists. So like that's when you say white nationalist, I think that. But then I think like is Stephen Miller also like Jews will not replace us? Like I don't.
Oh, so and speaking of that, did you see Tommy Tuberville today
He's
or
running
today?
for he's running for governor.
Well, he was on
I didn't see
Aaron
this.
Burnett, and she was questioning him about his like white nationalism, and he was like, "Well, if white nationalism is racist, then I'm completely against it, but I really agree with the white nationalists." And she's
So
like, "White nationalism is racism."
that
He
that's a
doesn't. He's not
that
computing.
that's a clip from like 3 years ago. You saw
Oh,
an old
really?
clip. Yeah, that was when he was running for Senate, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a nationalist. Like I love my nation." Or yeah, that's an old clip.
This is different. This is new, I think.
Well, I'll have to look, but he already did
Okay.
that once, so I'm gonna say that
I think he's still on it, and I think Mitch McConnell had to step in and like correct him.
if he did it, I know he did that the first time. So if he did it again, then
He
it's
did
not a
it again.
mistake.
He did it again, and
Okay.
Mitch McConnell corrected him because I remember seeing Mitch McConnell and thinking Mitch McConnell looks like he's like halfway in the grave right now.
Yeah, he's looked like that for a while though. That could have been 3 years
It's
ago.
true, but
Yeah.
he's getting even worse, like
Yeah.
quick.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's where we're at. Last thing on the big beautiful bill, then we'll jump off of that. It passed the House by one vote. Okay. Now, if you had to guess, how many Democrats do you think have died in office in the last 13 months in the House?
You told me this the other day. You said it was like 9 or something.
Six.
Okay.
Six Democratic congressmen have died in office in the last 13 months. Guess how many have died since Trump's inauguration?
3.
Three is exactly right. Okay.
Yes.
So one of them died the day before the vote. Jerry Connolly died on like Wednesday and they had the vote on Thursday or whatever it was. So had Jerry Connolly lived one more day, it would have been a tie and it would have not passed. But because he died, they had the one vote needed to get it. Had the three, we have a problem and it's on the left and right. Right now I'm mad at the Democrats because more of them in the House are dropping like flies. But like when you look at the Senate, we have Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley, who I think Chuck Grassley is like 92. Like,
Right.
what are they doing in office? The ones in the, I'll say this, the ones in the House that keep dying are in their like 70s, but like I think two of them died of natural causes. Connolly died of cancer. Like they're all, but it's one of those where it's like, oh, he had a heart attack. I could see that. He is in his 70s. I don't know if the right answer is to have an age limit
What's the
or
retirement age for Social Security?
65,
It just moved up to 67.
67. Okay.
So that's when you need to exit Congress. The House,
Yeah.
the Senate, you're 67. That's your max. Get out. We don't
That'd
need
be-
people dying
That would
in
be
there.
like, that'd be 80% of Congress and the Senate right now that would have to leave.
Same with the Supreme Court. Get them out of here. We don't need them.
What sucks is we shouldn't need those rules because these people get voted in every 2 years in the House and 6 years in the Senate. And like Chuck Grassley just got reelected like 2 years ago when he was 90.
Who's voting for a 90-year-old man?
Well, when it's either him or a radical liberal Democrat that's trying to destroy America, the people in Iowa are not voting Democrat. So it has to be a challenge from within the
Get
party.
your shit together, Iowa.
Yeah. None of the real old ones are in like a purple district. They're all in very safe districts where nobody's going to primary them. So it's up to the party to take care of this. So the Democrats are responsible for some of this, and the Republicans are responsible for their people. But like, it has to hit a certain point where hey, Chuck, you're 90. Like, why don't you go have a seat? Like, we're gonna get somebody new in here.
There's something about the money, like, because name recognition, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I voted for Chuck Grassley last year, and I'm going to vote for Chuck Grassley this year because I remember his name. But all they have to do is spend a little bit of money and get somebody else's name out. Get Chuck Grassley to go, hey, I'm relinquishing my seat to, Bob Sanchez or whatever, and like start passing the torch down to a younger generation, and we get some 30 and 40 and 50-year-olds and even 60-year-olds. Like, we don't need 80-year-olds or 90-year-olds in the Senate.
So the problem is that it's the senator or congressman, they don't want to give up the power. Like they have someone who drives them everywhere, and they get into any restaurant, whatever the different perks of being a congressman or a senator are, and you get bribed, you're constantly getting taken to meals and put on trips and all the different ways people slide money in your pockets without breaking the rules. So they don't want to give that up. But you know what the bigger problem is? And I've been thinking about this a lot, because I think this is a huge factor in what was going on with Biden. But they have staffers around them, and especially when they start to get old and they're not really paying a lot of attention, the staffer suddenly becomes very powerful. Whoever the chief of staff is for the Senate, Chuck Grassley, or let's just say Biden. Let's go back to Biden real quick, okay? The people around him that are saying, "Hey, Joe, we're going to do this today," and Joe's like, "Okay," and like they don't want to give that up the power. And then you have a weekend at Bernie's scenario where the people in the Oval Office are propping Joe up, and they're like, no, he's good. And it's because they don't want it. Right now, they're kind of running shit. And I think that happens with Joe, and that happens with all these senators. And kind of like, if Chuck Grassley's got a powerful chief of staff kind of running things for him, that guy's got a lot of power. He's an unelected bureaucrat that's running things. And like, he's never going to suggest, hey, maybe Chuck, we shouldn't run for re-election. No. With every year that Chuck gets older, this guy becomes more powerful. And I think that's across the board in our government.
And this is the problem with America. It's about me, and it's not about us.
Yeah.
Right? The US is us. Let's get on the page where we stand for all of us together and not about our individual selves.
Good luck. And the biggest problem with that really is the kind of people that aspire to this higher office. They're power hungry, and they're in it for them. And that's what sucks. Like, if you're a really good person, you flame out at like city council level because you realize that in order to keep moving up, you got to suddenly start bending some of your moral, ethical stuff. And, I got to play the game. And by the time you hit a certain point, if you've agreed to bend your morals to do the things you need to do to get here, it's over. That's I truly believe
this is our problem. This is our major problem in politics. Like, maybe we just get rid of politics altogether.
What do you replace? You got to have something. What do you replace?
Back when Joe Rogan was a complete liberal, I remember him talking about, he was like, why don't we just do voting online, and every individual human being votes for every individual thing, and once a month we all go to the polls, and we go to our computers and we vote for everything individually, and so that's how we make the rules. Like,
that's called like voting through referendum. Every now and then you get a referendum on the ballot. In Oklahoma, it was to make weed recreational. And I got to say, I don't like that idea. I think that overall, there's a big percentage of Americans that aren't bright. And I think that's the same with every country. And let's talk Brexit for a minute. I don't want to act like I know everything about Brexit, but the people of Britain were fired up to leave the European Union. And as soon as they did, their economy has not been good since. And now they're trying to find a way to get back into the European Union. And they put that to a referendum. Had it been left up to the smarter people, I hate to say it, but the people running things, they would not have done it because they would have realized the trade implications of doing that. It's been a disaster. And if you let us vote on everything, we would vote for a lot. Like, a lot of things sounds good. Hey, free healthcare, let's do it. Okay, who's paying for that? I will figure it out later. Like, no, you need to figure it out now. If there's not a plan of how we're going to pay.
Bernie has a plan. Bernie has a plan for that, and
I hear you.
Free healthcare. Bernie has a plan.
Bernie has a plan, but if you let us just vote on shit, we wouldn't have the plan.
Most countries have free healthcare.
They don't vote by. You're conflating different things. They don't vote by referendum. I'm just making that point about the referendum thing.
You made free healthcare and use that as a thing. I'm like, well, it should work. Like, don't use that as your reference because that actually works.
How about this? We would all vote for a 3-day work week. Like, yay, 3-day work week. That sounds great. And then like we'd all be like, how come nothing is open? Everybody's off today. Like, that's the kind of dumb shit we would vote for. So sorry, better analogy there. So anywho, I'm done with the big beautiful bill. Like I said, prepare for it to get worse. That's all I can really say. All right, so Ukraine is I got 2 things left. We haven't talked Trump and Putin or Trump and Ukraine in a while. It's been kind of just there's other things going on. That's still important, but there's been other stuff. Trump has been. He keeps saying in 2 weeks we'll know. In 2 weeks, Putin will come to the table. They did actually. I think you've probably seen it, but they've been doing a bunch of montages recently of all the things that Trump says is going to take 2 weeks. It goes all the way back to his first term. He's going to tell us what his healthcare plan is in 2 weeks. Like, everything is always 2 weeks away. Well, just a couple of days ago, he said that he thinks Putin's going to come to the table for a ceasefire. Right now, we're not even trying to do the actual negotiation to end the war. We're just trying to get a ceasefire so they can have negotiations while nobody's getting killed. Trump said the other day that he's made progress. He talked to Putin. He said, Vladimir, what's it going to take for us to get this to stop? And they had a real good talk. And within 2 weeks, they're going to come to the table and have a discussion. Anywho, cut to the other day. I think it's almost 3 or 4 days ago now. Putin launched the biggest strike of the war into like urban areas, like cities. Like, I can't remember how many missiles, but it was a big deal. Trump is upset. By the way, the only reason Trump's upset is because there are a lot of people in the Senate, like Lindsey Graham type people, that are really mad. Like, they're on Ukraine's side, and they are putting a lot of heat on Trump right now. And they're starting to do the whole, hey, Trump, he's making you look like a fool. Like, that, nobody's saying that on the camera, but the rumors behind the scenes are that they're like, hey, he's straight up disrespecting you, and everybody is noticing that he's not listening to you. So that's the way they're trying to approach Trump here. So Trump's on the tarmac the other morning, and they asked Trump. Trump gives a lot of speeches, and a lot of them are just kind of a little bit funny. But for some reason, this one tickled me, like in ways that I haven't been tickled before. I want to get your feedback, because I watched this several times and I laughed every time. This is from CNN.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him. But he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
President, what do you want to do about that?
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
And I don't like it.
I don't know why. Okay, go ahead.
Did you get? He said, "I'm not surprised," and he said, "I'm surprised."
Yeah, he was stumbling a little bit there. Trump's doing that more, but you know.
But are you surprised?
Oh, I'm not surprised at all.
Do you think actually surprised, or do you think he's not surprised? Because he said, "I'm not surprised. I'm surprised."
I think that he I think that he's going to say, "Well, I'm not surprised." Like he's going to play it from the angle of like, "Of course I knew this was going to happen."
He just
Like,
slipped up and said he wasn't. He was surprised. He
yeah.
wasn't surprised.
If he could go back, I think he would say, "Well, I'm not surprised. Like I saw this coming. Like I'm not an idiot. I knew this was going to happen." I think that's his angle on it.
Dude,
I don't know. Like
Putin has something on him. I don't know what it is, but Putin has something on Trump, and Trump does not want to let it go, or won't like. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be bad, right?
apparently ever since like 2000, what was it, 2014? At one point, Trump owned like the Miss Universe or Miss US, the Miss World pageant, whatever it was, and they had it in Moscow. And like by all accounts, like he was very eager to get to meet Vladimir Putin then, and Putin like blew him off the whole time. And he never got to meet Putin. Like he was trying to arrange for him and Putin to talk, and Putin didn't want to. Maybe he just has always thought Vladimir Putin's like a super cool guy, and he really wants to be his friend. Could it be that simple?
Oh, I mean, have you ever heard about his dad, like Trump's dad?
Heard a little bit. Fred Trump.
It seems like Fred Trump was like a little bit more of a Vladimir Putin, like a very stoic, like strong man, like probably didn't give Trump too much attention, probably just like
there's this thing
blew him off.
There's compilations out there, but when you hear Trump talk about certain leaders like Putin and Xi of China, like he really admires the way they rule with an iron fist, and they say jump, and then the citizens say how high, and like he thinks that's like the ultimate power, and he might look at Putin and just be like, God, that guy has it. That guy's awesome. He's got his whole country doing everything he says, and they love him, and he probably thinks Putin's awesome. I think that's more likely than like the whole like Putin has something on Trump is funny to talk about, and it might be true. But I think it's more likely that Trump has just always wanted to be BFFs with Vlad, and like Vlad is stringing him along. That's what it looks like to me.
It stems from daddy issues.
Could be. Very well could be. Trump followed that up with a tweet. I'm not going to read the whole tweet, but it was, I've always had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He's gone absolutely crazy. He's needlessly killing a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about soldiers. And he goes on and on and on. And then he had another tweet after that. Did you see the one where he said basically that he's been protecting Vladimir Putin? Did you see
Oh
this?
yeah. If it wasn't for me, yeah.
If it wasn't for me, a lot of really bad stuff has happened, but I've been protecting. It's like, dude, that's everybody's saying that you're protecting Putin, and now you're coming right out and saying it. Like that's
right.
Okay, so.
Well, and then after he put out those tweets, like the Kremlin came out and said that Trump was having an emotional overload.
Dude, the Kremlin's Twitter, and there's a Twitter account for it's a TV channel called Russia Today. That's like the Russian TV network in America, and both of them just shitpost Trump all the time. Like the Kremlin and Russia Today are doing it nonstop, and I don't know. I feel like somebody needs to show Trump that. I don't know if he's not seeing it or what, but like
I haven't seen that. Interesting.
Oh, it's hysterical. Yeah, I think Russia Today said like Trump says blah 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 until tomorrow when he changes his mind, or said something like that, like right after that tarmac.
Amazing.
Thing. Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
It's kind of funny. So anyhow, that's all we got. There were reports that Trump was going to green light NATO to green light Russia or Ukraine to be able to start like launching missiles deep into the heart of Russia. And it's looking like now that's not going to happen. So for a couple of days, I was excited about that because I think it's kind of weird that like NATO is telling Ukraine like, hey, there's certain things you're not allowed to do. Like you're getting attacked and your cities are bombed. But Putin said if you cross these certain red lines, he's going to drop a nuke on you. So don't do these things. And some of those things are like firing missiles back. Like Russia's firing missiles every night into cities, but Ukraine is not allowed to fire missiles back into cities. Now they are sending those. Like that. They're sending those drones over and hitting buildings, but the way they're getting away with that is they make those drones inside of Ukraine, so it's not NATO or America giving them the machinery to do it. So it's only the stuff that NATO. If NATO starts giving them long-range missiles and then they use those missiles to shoot them into Moscow, Putin has basically said he'll view that as NATO attacking Russia. So now war is on with NATO.
Well, here's the issue is like with the United States, NATO could just take out Russia pretty quickly. Russia's good.
It wouldn't be really. It'd be bad. Us going to war with Russia is a bad idea because, like, at a certain point, and Putin threatens his nukes all the time, and like I'm one of those people where I don't buy it. Like he's not about to drop a nuke on Ukraine. First of all, with how close Ukraine is to Russia, you wouldn't drop a nuke right there. Just with the wind patterns, like radiation would come into your country. It's not a smart move. But I just don't think he's going to do it. Now, if we went to war with Russia and Russia was on the verge of like falling to America, like we were going to take over Moscow, I think that'd be their last act would be to detonate some nukes. So like just not a good plan at all. We should avoid war with Russia, straight on war. So
yeah, but how come Ukraine can't send missiles into Russia? That
So,
just doesn't make sense. Just do it.
Here's the workaround. Germany and France apparently are really good at making these missiles, but like I said, if they give them to Ukraine to use, then Russia will basically declare war on Germany and France. So what they're going to do is they came out and said this, I think 2 days ago. They're basically going to give Ukraine the technology and teach them how to do it themselves, and they're going to help them set up factories like now. Like this is going to go from zero to and so they're going to start producing those missiles inside of Ukraine to where we're not giving them missiles, they're doing it themselves. So that's one of those where that's going to take, even if they do it fast, you got to think that's going to take a couple months to get online. That'd be
Not a year.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. A couple months is probably unrealistic. So, but that's where we're at. We still have no peace deal. Trump is acting like he might do something. Apparently, there's a package getting put together in the Senate right now of sanctions on Russia that it looks like they're saying is going to be a veto-proof majority, like to where Trump has to sign it. So that might get Russia to, kind of at least pretend they're open to a deal. I know that's what they.
Okay.
The last couple months, that's all they keep doing is like, oh yeah, we'll talk about peace, and then they just keep bombing the whole time, and so they're not.
No, Russia doesn't want peace at all. They just know Trump's number, and they're just like, yeah, Trump, well, yeah, whatever, and Trump's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
Putin loves me, we're best buddies.
They're doing a Trump. Yeah, we'll talk in 2 weeks, and then they keep bombing, and then Trump gets mad. They're like, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks is good.
So, anyhow, final topic of the night, then I'll let you go to bed. We haven't talked about this since DOGE, but everybody talked about all the cuts, and there were cuts to certain, like the National Weather Service is, one we're going to talk about here in a second. But it's like, hey, we're going to need that. Like FEMA is killing me right now. I don't have the video of this, but did you see Josh Hawley grilling Kristi Noem, the HHS secretary? It was a Senate hearing of some kind, and he was like, will you commit to me that like you will get our request for FEMA aid to the president's desk? And she was like, I'll make sure it gets through we got rid of FEMA. His whole thing is he thinks the states should be able to take care of themselves. So right now, North Carolina, Republican governor, has been throwing a fit for the last couple of weeks because they keep requesting additional FEMA funding, and Trump is flat out rejecting it. Now, North Carolina, right before the election, they got hit by that hurricane and all the flooding, and they were like, where is FEMA? Joe Biden has abandoned us. Joe Biden was approving everything that they were asking for. It just takes time to get the equipment there to do something about it, but he was approving it all. And since he left, Trump has not approved another cent for North Carolina. So kind of funny there.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
The states that are going to get hurt the most by no FEMA: Florida, Alabama, Texas, the Carolinas, Georgia, maybe, Louisiana, all red states. Like those are the states that like I saw a thing where there's only like 11 states that reliably pull money out of FEMA, and the rest all pay into FEMA, and like 10 out of the 11 are red states. So this is going to hurt the Southeast mainly. We're coming into hurricane season right now.
And it's not even just FEMA. There's a handful of states that pay money into the Federal Reserve, right? The federal government. And California is the biggest one.
So you're talking about how much they pay in versus how much they get back. We call them, there's certain welfare states. Like I live in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is completely a welfare state. Like we get more from the government than we pay in.
All welfare states are red states.
I'll bet you're right. But now there are
Texas is a welfare state.
That's so bad. They shouldn't be with their economy like
it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah. Like I know like New York and California pay in the most and get back the least. Anyhow, I do have a video real quick. This is from MSNBC, and this is just to scare you heading into hurricane season. Check this out real quick.
Days out from what's forecast to be an above-normal hurricane season, scientists across the country are sounding the alarm over critical staffing shortages. Inside the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, officials are scrambling to fill more than 150 critical National Weather Service roles left vacant after sweeping cuts from the Trump administration. Overall, the service has lost 600 of its 4,000 employees since January. 5 former NWS directors calling it their worst nightmare in an open letter earlier this month, predicting understaffing could lead to needless loss of life.
So,
yeah,
right there, they talked about the National Weather Service and the NOAA, I think it is. But since that came out, I've been reading. That's part of why people are saying like none of the DOGE cuts are in the budget, because like they cut all these jobs and now they're realizing like, oh crap, like they're even right now they're trying to fill like to find like a head of FEMA and like someone to run it and some deputies under him because they realize hurricane season's coming and they're going to have to do something. But like they just fired all those people and did not intend to fill the positions. They were just going to.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing: is yes, they did that and they didn't intend to fill the position, but there's been people on the left saying, hey, when you fire these people, hurricane season's coming up and we're gonna need and like people have been screaming from the rooftops that this is not a good idea, and they just did it anyway. They didn't care.
Trump's answer to that, because he got asked that a couple different times, he said, hey, the states need to be able to take care of themselves. Okay. And
no states can take care of themselves. And he can look that up quickly. Yeah. Everybody knows states can't take care of themselves. Kentucky doesn't take care of itself.
No.
Like North Carolina doesn't take care of itself.
West Virginia, states like that. Like, yeah, anyhow.
Take care of themselves.
It's going to be, because right now we have, I mentioned North Carolina, but there's, it's like, I want to say Kentucky and Missouri. Missouri we talked about with Holly, but there's been tornadoes. We're just finishing tornado season, and tornadoes have been ripping through the Midwest. And there's several states that are requesting disaster assistance or something like that from the federal government, and it's all getting denied. So that's why Holly chose to use his 5 minutes to beg her for FEMA relief for Missouri. And
is he going to get anything?
I doubt it. I don't know. I mean, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So like this sucks because like there's a part of me that's like, well, like this is going to hit like the big beautiful bill and the cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and all that is going to affect rural hospitals mainly in red areas. Cutting FEMA and the NWS and NOAA, that is disproportionately going to affect red states, red areas. Like, I'm torn here because, like, I don't want bad things to happen to anybody in America. Like, I want, if something bad does happen, I want the government to be there. But there's also a part of me that's like, this is kind of the way it needs to be for him to see that this isn't going to work. Like, if it was blue states throwing a fit, like, let's say it was 10 blue states that get hit.
Well, it's not him. It's not him because he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
I think he cares about people liking him.
I don't think he cares about that. He cares about money. That's number one.
Okay.
But the people in the red states that voted for Trump, they're the ones that need to see what's happening. But we're already way too far gone. I think we're already just way too far gone on this. And
do you mean we're way too far gone? Like there's no fixing it now? Like those agencies, or like tribalism, we're too far gone, and even if bad things happen to them, they still like Trump.
Tribalism. I think the tribalism is too far gone. I think Russia won. Russia and China won. They pinned us against each other, and Trump was the mediator in all this.
Yeah. I saw a clip today that I actually sent it to you, I think, on Facebook, and I hated it so much, but it was because I agreed with everything. But it was basically saying like this is going to get taken out of context the way I say it, but it was basically saying like white rural Americans like are the reason where we are right now, and it's because they were mad at this, they were mad at that, they don't like blacks or brown people, and like Trump came in and like spoke directly to them and like riled them into a frenzy and got a whole new voting block. Like those people didn't vote, or if they did, sometimes they vote half Democrat, half Republican, and he like weaponized all of them into the Republican Party, and he did it by like realizing that they had this natural hatred towards certain groups, and he found a way to like weaponize it and get them to the polls based off of that. And
well, he's been really good at just like telling whoever he's in front of what they want to hear when they want to hear it.
He's the best. We talked about it, but even during the election, when I would talk to some people and they'd be like, he is pro-life, he doesn't believe in any exceptions. And then I'd talk to other people and be like, well, he's pro-life, but he believes in exceptions. And like, you can find clips of him saying both. Like, it was just, it was like, whatever you want him to be, he will be. like in this moment. So he has a great quality about that.
He's a shapeshifter, man.
Yeah. Which on the Democrat side, you have Democrats that are like, in 2019, you said that you think that we shouldn't have plastic straws, blah, 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 blah. And they like hold them to shit they said 5 years ago. And like the base really, oh, she didn't say that. Well, that's a knock against her. Whereas Trump, you can bring up all the shit he said, and he's been on both sides of every issue throughout his life, but it doesn't matter at all. It's just what he's saying right now is all that matters. So that's, yeah. So anyhow,
Teflon Don, bro.
Yeah. So hey, I survived hurricane, or I survived tornado season. Didn't have to get FEMA involved. I lost my fence is damaged. I'm going to fix that as soon as things dry up. But other than that, got through it here. So now it's up to the southeast in hurricane season, and they're predicting this is going to be an above average hurricane season. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see Piers Morgan going after? He's going hard after Israel now, isn't he?
I'll tell you what. So I see clips of Piers Morgan on like Facebook and Instagram reels all the time, but I've never watched his show. And then in the past 2-3 weeks, I found him on YouTube, and I think his show is just on YouTube. If it's on a channel, I don't know what channel it's on.
I don't either.
But it's like a news show where he's got 4 guests on and all that. But I could be wrong. I think it's just on YouTube. But I know that he was more on the Israel side of things for quite a while, and he is now very much in the whole like Israel's committing a genocide side of things.
Yep, which they are.
And it's getting so hard because like at first I was like, hey, they got to take out Hamas and there's going to be civilian casualties. Remember me and you used to argue about this at night. Like, what do you got there?
I was on the right side. I saw the genocide from the beginning.
I was saying at first that, hey, like war sucks and civilians die in war, but they gotta take out Hamas. And then with every month that's gone by, it's become harder and harder to even say, like, and for a while I was like, well, like Israel does need to take out Hamas, but I wish they would be more careful about how they drop their bombs. Like that was kind of where I was for a while. And now it's like, they just want to kill them all. I mean, they
do.
There was a poll that came out. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was like 85% of people in Israel think that they should get them all. They like Trump's plan of getting them all out. They need to go to a different country, get them out of Gaza. And then it was right at like 49%. It was just under 50 think that it's okay to kill them all. Women, babies, like, and they flat out, the question said, like, should you kill their offspring also? And it's like, yes, I'm all for that. And it's like, wow. So yeah, that's where we're at. Even like, dude, Theo Vaughn has been going on about it being a genocide now. Like he took a stand, and Ben Shapiro went after Theo Vaughn the other day. That was quite interesting.
I didn't see that.
Ben Shapiro is mad at Theo Vaughn. He's mad at Piers Morgan. He's mad at Trump right now because Trump's trying to negotiate a deal with Iran, and he told Bibi Netanyahu that, hey, while I'm working this out, you better not strike Iran. And that was rumored, that was being reported, and then somebody asked Trump the other day, and Trump said, well, I probably shouldn't say, but yeah, I told him that, like, and I don't want him screwing up this peace deal, so he needs to not do anything, and if he does, we don't have his back right now. And Ben Shapiro is pissed at Trump for that. There's the Israel thing, which the Israel thing already caused a fracture on the left. So that it already did its damage to the left during the last election. Somehow the right stayed really unified on it, but now the right is going through their little fracturing of Israel. I don't think it's going to lead to any major big thing happening in the Republican Party, but there is some infighting right now. There's still a lot of people that back Israel no matter what, and every person that died was probably Hamas. Like, that's where they're at. And then there is a growing opposition to that, and I think it's growing fast right now of people that are like, hey, this ain't cool. Like, yeah, I was for you killing the terrorists that did October 7th, but what you're doing now is far beyond that.
Wasn't it? It was like something below 50,000 Hamas members in Palestine, right? It was like 48,000 or something like that. Well, and Israel's been they've kept numbers on how many Hamas members they've killed, right? But they haven't kept track of how many. And this is what Piers Morgan was holding them on the fire the other day about. They haven't kept track of how many women and children have been killed. Like, there's no numbers on them.
There's rough numbers we have, right? I saw some. Go ahead.
There's some rough numbers, but in the Gaza Strip before the war, they estimated 2.23 million people.
Okay. So
the other day, I heard, I think it was Netanyahu said there was 1.7 and Trump said there was 1.6 million. So they're talking about
Over half
without
million.
numbers, they're saying 500,000 dead.
Yeah, and normally you would say, here's the thing. Normally you would say, well, some of those people fled. Some of those people got out. There ain't no getting out of Gaza. Yeah.
Nobody got out.
Yeah. You can't leave. You got a fence all around you. You're not getting out. And here's I'm calling it a genocide. I'm anti what Israel's doing right now, but the other side you got to look at is like we and Israel and some other countries, Jordan, have been like trying to find a safe country to send these people, to get the women and children out of there, get them into a refugee status. No country over there will take them. No Arab country. Like nobody wants them. And the problem is, and this is the little bit I'll say in defense of Israel, the problem is everybody's afraid that, hey, even if it's a 14-year-old boy, that kid could truly be Hamas. And now we got a terrorist coming into my country. So there is an issue here. Like, what do you do with them? Like, you got to kill all of Hamas, and nobody's willing to take the refugees. Like, that's a problem. But still, with all that being said, that doesn't.
Okay, so let's just say Hamas is actually a terrorist organization, right?
Oh, they are. They are 100% a terrorist organization. The matter is who's Hamas and who's not. And the way Israel looks at it is, real quick, the way Israel
who did Trump just make deals with over in the Middle East? How many ex-terrorist organizations did he make deals with over there when he was over there?
So he didn't make any straight up with any terrorist organization, but what you're talking about is like Saudi Arabia, for example, like funds, like you could make a stronger argument that they funded all the 9/11 hijackers, like, and we're making deals with them. So
who's giving us the plane?
Qatar, and Qatar is like
they fund Hamas, right?
So they don't fund Hamas. They're a safe haven. Like the heads of Hamas and Hezbollah live in Qatar, and they're free to do so. Iran mainly funds, and this is where it gets interesting, is Iran is the main financial backer for Hezbollah and Hamas, and Russia props up Iran. So you could almost say that Russia is indirectly funneling money to them. But yeah, it's a whole, yeah. If you're doing business in the Middle East, you're doing business with some people that have done some shady stuff to America. That's just
and Trump just did a lot of business in the Middle East. And he brought a whole new golf tournament to the United States, based out of the Middle East.
Yeah. He's all about. So I think we talked about this already. I pray we did. But remember his first term when he got elected, the very first thing is, I'm calling for a complete and total shutdown of any Muslim coming into this country until we can figure out what the hell is going on. I think I nailed that. But he was anti-Muslim until he met with Saudi Arabia and realized there's money to be had, and they invested money. They immediately started investing in Jared Kushner's stuff, and remember, he ended up getting $2 billion from the Saudis.
You know what Saudi Arabia and Trump have in common?
Money.
They like gold.
Yeah, that's true. He's all about the gold. So yeah, once he realized how many billions of dollars those people had over there, suddenly his tune changed on the Middle East completely. And he sees deals. Trump, above all else, wants to make deals, whether it be for America or for him personally, and he just wants to make a deal. And they got money.
But he's so bad at it. He's so bad at making deals.
He does well for himself in his personal life. He makes good deals for himself.
Only now that he's president.
It's at the expense of America. Like we're paying for his good deals.
Of America. Yeah, he's basically selling off America for himself.
Yeah,
is what he's doing. It's scary. And I mean, sticking on the same topic, like 2 of Israel's prime ministers have come out and said, like, we are committing war crimes.
Yeah, one of them just came out and said it like in the last 3 or 4 days, I think. And they're not hiding it. Like I think did he say they're committing war crimes, or did he say they're committing a genocide? He said one of them
said war crimes and the other one said genocide.
Yeah, okay. I saw that. So
committed genocide, yeah.
It's hard to call it anything else. And like I feel like you have to say this, like, I don't have a problem with Jewish people. I don't have any problem with the Jews. Like, I have a problem with the way Israel is handling their action in Gaza right now. Like,
it's very similar to what we did with Iraq and Afghanistan.
The thing is, here's the line that got crossed, though, is like within the past month or two, like I think almost 3 months now, they've been trying to starve out the population. Like, they cut off all food getting in and out. Like, we never did that. Like, that's an undeniable, like, and I said it, I think I said it on the air, but like, I keep seeing these commercials where they're showing me like 5-year-old kids that weigh 27 or 28 pounds that are skin and bones in Gaza. And it's like, yeah, no, we're just starving them out. Like
Well, they didn't let any food in for 3 months, and then they just did that food drop. It was 462,000 meals, and there's 1.7 million of them.
So a third of Gaza could have one meal.
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, that'll probably help.
Almost a third. Not even a third, probably a fourth.
When I saw that they're letting like flour and grain and stuff back in so they can make bread, but there's no electricity to anywhere in Gaza, and all like the bakeries and shit have been blown up. So yeah,
every hospital and every hospital has been bombed, and every school has been bombed.
They blew up a Christian church. This was like 2 weeks ago, but they blew up a Christian church that was being used to shelter like women and children, and blew it up with them inside. And like we didn't say shit. Like America is just like, oh, whatever, like gotta do it. So
this is a nightmare. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why like Europe or somebody's not stepping. I understand why we're not stepping up, but because we have money ties with Israel, but I don't understand why like somebody's not stepping up and saying, Israel, stop.
Yeah, Trump hasn't like said anything about, how they need to change their tune or whatever they're doing. All he did is apparently we did pressure them to let the food in that got in the last week or two. Like we put
they didn't let that much food in, and they had there was gunshots at the food drops, and people were fighting over food because there's not enough food. So they each got a fourth of them got one meal, and how long ago was that? A week ago?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I said this a long time ago, but this doesn't end well for the people of Gaza, like the Palestinians. Like I'm sorry, we're watching it happen in slow motion, but like there's no scenario where like Israel's going to back out and like the Palestinians will get to have Gaza again. Like they're out of there. Like they're out of there one way or another. They're either going to get killed or they're going to end up getting moved. But like
they can't move. They can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, I see no end to this that is good for Palestinians. So
this isn't good. Yeah.
No, it's just the problem is the only country that has power to stop them is America, and Trump hasn't said anything about what's going on.
No, Trump's on Netanyahu's side for whatever reason.
Maybe if enough like Theo Von, Joe Rogan, I don't know if those kind of people get up in arms and kind of turn public sentiment more, then maybe. But I don't know.
It's starting to turn. I mean, the World Court Organization, the World Court, whatever it's called, they had meetings, and like even like Russia and China had representatives there, and was like, Israel needs to feed the people. Israel needs to stop the genocide. And so, I mean, I don't think it makes much of a difference, but at least everybody's kind of on the same page at this point that Israel's wrong.
Like right now, somebody in Israel said this, but like they're giving them just enough food to not get in trouble. Like they're like whatever the bare minimum to get all these other countries off their back is what they're allowing.
It's not even that. They're still killing them. I mean, they just gave one food drop in 3 months to feed one fourth of the population one meal.
Well, and they're still also bombing everything over there. So, like, even if you don't starve to death, you're going to get bombed. So,
just killing women and children over and over and over again. And for whatever reason, like, there's a Christian thing where, like, this is end times, and people are for end times. They want the world to end, and they think that this is what's going to happen.
I got to find somebody, because I know that somebody I know here in Oklahoma, because everybody I know is very religious up here, and somebody I know believes that and just hasn't told me yet. But I need them to explain that whole prophecy to me, because apparently, all I know about it is that the Jews have to fully control Israel for the rapture to happen, and like the rapture is a good thing.
They have to own Israel. They have to fully own Israel and like parts of Iran and Iraq.
They call it Greater Israel. It's part of Syria, Greater Israel, or something like that. The former Judah, what is it? Judah and Samaria, or something like that. Biblical times, or
Sure.
Anyhow,
it's dumb.
Yeah, we're gonna be fine, man. Yeah, it's all good. So, hey, good news for real. Let's end on a happy note. Remember the movie Dogma?
Yeah, I love that movie.
So you know how you can't buy that digitally for the past like 10 years. Like,
what?
Good luck getting your hands on a copy of Dogma. Like, you can't buy it anywhere. So Harvey Weinstein owned the rights to it. The guy that's in jail for sexual harassment and all that. And back when that movie came out, the Catholic organizations were so pissed about that movie that basically he agreed to just stop distributing it. So like,
Whoa.
if you still have a DVD of it, you can sell it on eBay for a lot of money.
No shit.
Anyhow, apparently he just gave the rights back to Kevin Smith within like the last year. So Kevin Smith is doing a theatrical re-release. So I think June 5th, it's going to be in theaters all across the country. And then it'll be on DVD and streaming platforms and all that. So the movie Dogma is making a comeback, and I'm very excited about that. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Interesting.
You could watch it on YouTube for a long time, and apparently, like everybody thought that it wasn't Harvey Weinstein, but it was somebody that he basically had a wink nod deal. Because at any point, the person who owns it could get on YouTube and tell them to take that down. But it was on YouTube ad free for like 3 straight years, and supposedly Weinstein, that was his way of not pissing off the Catholics, but letting people see the movie. But he ended up giving it to Kevin Smith now. So that's a good note. Is the movie Dogma will be in theaters here in like a week.
That's exciting. I can't wait to watch that again. We need to watch Confident Idiocracy again.
Yeah, I've watched that recently, and that movie holds up. I'll tell you, man. Every year becomes closer to reality. So anyhow, that's my good news for the day. Other than that, man, have a good night.
Like, subscribe, leave us a comment.
Just like the video. I don't care if you comment or not. Like the video. That helps us in the algorithm or something.
Comment.
You know?
Just give us a thumbs up in the comments. I don't care.
I feel like most of our comments have been negative, so I'm almost like, don't comment. And
that's fine. No, comment. Yeah, I don't care if it's negative. Tell me I suck.
Okay, that's what they're saying.
I want to hear it. Give it to me.
All right. I love the comments real quick where it's like, what do you two know about blah, 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 blah? And
we know nothing. We're confident idiots.
I read it and I'm like, that guy's got a great point. Like, who are we to be talking about politics? So, yeah. Good work, man.
Hell yeah.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later, buddy.
Peace.
Sometimes you eat the bar. Sometimes the bar eats you.